What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be going through my preseason SEC predictions for 2025. I have predicted every SEC team's record, and I'm going to project the standings. These aren't really power rankings, these are my standings predictions from 16 to number 1. Now, let's start off at number 16. At number 16, I have Mississippi State. I have them at 4-8 with a 1-7 conference record. It is very likely that this team will be pretty bad again because of the lack of defensive talent. Heading into last season, they had a major roster overhaul and a new head coach, but heading into this season, I do think they're in a lot better shape. I don't think they're going to be very good, and they do have a tough schedule, but they do have one of the best running back rooms in the country with Fluff Bothwell and Davin Booth. They returned their quarterback in Blake Shapen and have some good offensive talent. I could see them competing with some teams, but overall, I'm not expecting anything great. I have them at number 16 in the SEC. They allowed nearly 39 points per game last season, and that definitely needs to change if they want to be better. I also have Kentucky at 4-8 with a 1-7 conference record. This is an important year for Mark Stoops, who has been consistent at Kentucky, but they're coming off of a disappointing 2024 season. But they really did have an excellent transfer portal class, one of the best in the SEC. They add a quarterback in Zach Calzada, who I think is underrated and very experienced. And the defensive line is actually looking pretty solid with some new additions like David Gusta and Marquise Humphrey-Grace. The secondary returns 3 starters, and their defense should be all right. And the offense could definitely be better with more playmakers and a solid quarterback, in my opinion. But again, it's similar to Mississippi State. Overall, they just don't have the same talent as the other teams in the SEC and a tough schedule. Kentucky is Kentucky. There's not much to say about them. I think they'll manage to win one game in the SEC and upset somebody, but I have them at number 15 in the SEC. Number 14, I have Arkansas at 5-7 with a 1-7 conference record. This is a team that does have some upside, especially with Taylor Green back at quarterback. But can Sam Pittman carry over that momentum from last season? And they will have a tougher schedule. And they did have a pretty big roster overhaul. We'll see what Bobby Petrino can do in year 2 as the OC, but there's a ton of pressure on Taylor Green. The defense will only return 3 starters, and I just don't like their chances in the SEC. I have them at 5-7, number 14 in the SEC. Number 13, I have the Missouri Tigers going 6-6, and I have them at 2-6 in conference play. They are 21-5 over the last 2 seasons. Eli Drinkwitz has been on the rise with this team, but heading into next season, they have a huge overhaul. The offense is a major question mark after losing talented running backs. Of course, the number 1 receiver for that team is Luther Burden and Brady Cook at quarterback. Bo Babula is an okay pickup, but he will probably be one of the lower-end quarterbacks in the SEC. He's not super accurate. Ahmad Hardy is a 1,000-plus yard back coming over from UM Monroe. I think he'll have a big year. He should be one of the bright spots for that team and get them to a bowl game. And defensively, they should have one of the better defenses in the SEC, at least average. But there are some other teams in the SEC that I just have more confidence in. There's more pieces there. I don't like the Missouri offense that much. They were okay last season, but they really had an easy schedule. I expect another step back from them. They're just not a great football program. I have Missouri at 6-6, and I have them at number 13. Number 12, I have Vanderbilt going 7-5 with another solid season, 3-5 conference record. I really like this team. I think a lot of people are sleeping on them. I see a lot of people predicting them to miss a bowl game. But they have a schedule that sets them up for a bowl game, in my opinion, again, and they got some home games that are winnable. They have sneaky good home field advantage that nobody talks about. They have a very weird place to play, and they have the best tight end in the SEC in Eli Stowers, and Diego Pavia is a very good quarterback. And they got a bend but do not break defense. They return a lot. They're near the top of the SEC in return and production. This is a team that was pretty solid last year, and I don't see them taking a big step back. They have a lot of the pieces back from last year. I like this team to be okay again. I have them at number 12 in the SEC. Number 11, I have Tennessee. This is a team that has to reload. They're near the bottom of the country in return and production. They went to the playoffs last season, but took a huge hit this offseason, losing Nico Iamaleava, losing their number 1 running back to the NFL and Dylan Sampson, who really helped carry the offense. The receiving room is a question mark, and they add a quarterback in Joey Aguilar who should be okay, but he's not going to be a game changer in my opinion. And defensively, the secondary has some question marks. They were pretty weak in the secondary last season, and they lose an elite defensive player in James Pierce Jr. Look, I just think this is a reload year for them. I could see them struggling. And they got some tough games on the schedule. They're playing teams that are going to be much better next season, like Florida and Oklahoma. They should have Jamar McCoy back, who suffered a torn ACL last season. He's one of the best defensive players in the country, so that's a plus. But like I said, I just don't love the depth, and I think they have some question marks, to be honest. I have them at number 11. I have the Auburn Tigers at number 10. I have them 7-5, 4-4 in the conference record. I think this team is going to be okay. Maybe not as good as people think they will be, but certainly a step forward for Hugh Freeze. Has to prove something. They do have a pretty decent schedule. I mean, it's not the toughest in the SEC, but this is a team that should be able to take that step forward. There's just so much talent. If they manage to miss a bowl game again, that would be embarrassing. Hugh Freeze should get fired. They're coming off of back-to-back losing seasons, but the talent is there. Cam Coleman's one of the best receivers in the nation, and they add the number one receiver in Eric Singleton. They add a five-star quarterback in Jackson Arnold, who has a lot to prove. He's got an arm, but can he cut back on turnovers and be consistent? They added some big-time additions through the portal on the offensive line. Can those pieces gel? The defense has a lot of returning production, though I think they'll be just fine there. The defense was definitely overlooked last season. They held SEC teams to 4.96 yards a snap and 24 points a game. They have a strong foundation on defense. I think a lot is going to be in the hands of the offensive line and Jackson Arnold at quarterback. But regardless, I think we'll see some good things from them. I do think Arnold will be turnover prone, but certainly should be a step forward from Peyton Thorne. I have Auburn at number 10 in the SEC. This may be a hot take to some and might make some people mad, but I don't care. This is just my opinion. I have the Florida Gators at number 9. I have them at 8-4, going 4-4 in conference play. I think that brutal schedule is going to be tough for this team to make the playoffs. And look, again, these are not power rankings, these are conference standings. I predicted their record. And can they carry over that momentum from the end of last season? I truly don't know. I think DJ Lagway has the talent. He has one of the best arms in the country. Certainly a top 10, top 5 quarterback. He's a great development, and he's the reason this team went to a bowl game last season. They have one of the SEC's top offensive lines and Jaden Bogg at running back. They will need guys to step up at wide receiver, though. Eugene Wilson is coming off of injury, and they lost Shamir Dyke and Elijah Badger. They have a true freshman coming in Dallas Wilson, but he is only a freshman. Defensively, they got 5 starters back, so that's not bad. But how will they hold their own? Can they be consistent throughout that whole schedule against some of the best teams in the country? Look, I like this Florida team, but I don't like him that much. I don't trust Billy Napier that much. I have them at 8-4, number 9 in the SEC. Ole Miss can be a sneaky team heading into 2025. I have them at number 8, 8-4 in the SEC, 4-4 in conference play. This team has a young quarterback in Austin Simmons, who I think has breakout potential, and they added some very good receivers. Harrison Wallace joins the team, and Caden Lee is a very good receiver. They really did their thing in the portal again, and this should be a good team. I do have questions with the defense after losing a ton on the defense. They lost a lot of NFL talent, definitely on the front 7. I don't think they have the talent to make a push for the playoffs this upcoming season. But they don't have a super tough schedule, and they got Daugherty and Perkins back on a strong second level. But they do have question marks in the secondary. That could be a concern again. I have them at number 8. Look, Oklahoma is a quarterback and healthy team away from being a very good SEC team. And I do have them at number 7, going 8-4 in the SEC, which would be a big step in the right direction for Brent Venables in the SEC landscape. I love the pickup of John Mateer. I love the revamped offensive line. And they got some guys in the receiver room who I think could step up. They got Deion Burks back, who could be very good. They also add the Arizona wide receiver. They also add one of Arkansas's top wide receivers. And this is probably a top 15, top 10 defense in the nation with who they have back. They are nearly top of the country in return and production. Arbuckle and Mateer should fit perfectly in that offensive system. I think Mateer is going to go off as a dual threat option for that team. He had a huge year at Washington State, and a healthy Deion Burks makes this team dangerous. And of course, I have to mention Jaden All, a very good player out of the backfield for them. I know they had a losing season and had some embarrassing games, but I think they're not far off from being a good team in the SEC. I have them at number 7. I think a huge step forward is coming for this team. At number 6, I have South Carolina at 9-3, going 5-3 in conference play. This is a team that I think could go crazy or absolutely bust. They don't have the super toughest schedule, so a playoff is not out of the picture. And of course, when you have one of the most athletic and hyped up quarterbacks in the country, anything is possible. And a head coach that just knows how to win games in November. And this team has some games where they can make a lot of noise in November. They went 9-3 last season with 6 straight victories in the regular season. I have questions with the defense after losing a lot. They held opponents to 18 points a contest last season, but coordinator Clayton White has to do work to keep this team performing at a high level. They got Dylan Stewart back, one of the best defensive players in the nation, but Kyle Kennard and some of the top players on that defense at defensive tackle and linebacker are gone. The offensive line is still a bit of a question mark, and they really need guys at wide receiver to step up. I think they have the talent to upset some teams, but through a full season, I don't think they have the depth, and I don't think they have the offensive line. I think this team will go 9-3, but I don't see them making the playoffs. If they do, it would be because Lenore Sellers wins the Heisman Trophy. Number 5, I have the Texas Longhorns at 10-2, 6-2 in conference play. And this may be weird to some people, but this is just how the schedule ended up. I have Texas losing 2 games and being 5th in conference play. But I do think there are some losable games for Texas, and I do think they're a bit overrated heading into next season. They are near the bottom on offense and return in production, and I don't think Arch Manning's going to be this crazy good quarterback. Ryan Wingo is a young, talented receiver, and they got DeAndre Moore back, but outside of them, they have no proven receivers. They're all young. The offensive line loses some key contributors. Defensively, it's what's going to lead them to the playoffs again. And I do think they have a top 3, probably the best defense in the country. Texas is a dangerous team. I just have concerns with the offense. They struggled offensively last season, and heading into next season, they don't return a lot. I think Texas will drop a couple of games in the SEC. I have them at number 5. Number 4, I have Texas A&M at 9-3. I have them ahead of Texas because I think they pull off a huge upset against Texas. I have them going 9-3, 6-2 in the conference record at number 4. I trust Mike Elko to get this team to win games, and they have an intact roster heading into next season. They have a very good offensive and defensive line, top 7 in the country for return and production. They upgraded the receiver room with a former 1,000-yard receiver in Kevin Concepcion, possibly a top 10 receiver in the nation if he can have a big year. Mike Elko started the foundation last season, and they do not have a super tough schedule, so I think that favors this team. They have one of the deepest backfields in the nation with Reuben Owens and Le'Veon Moss back. Mario Craver is a great pickup at wide receiver as well. I like this team, and the pass defense should improve. I have them at number 4 in the SEC. Number 3, I have Alabama going 10-2, 6-2 in conference play. I think this team is a national title contender, even after a struggling season in their first 9-win season in over 15 years. Kalen DeBoer had an underwhelming year 1, but it's only the start. He has kept this team recruiting at a high level, and I think the offense is going to run much better in 2025 with 5-star quarterback Ty Simpson coming up. And former Washington offensive coordinator when Kalen DeBoer was there, Ryan Grubb is joining Alabama. So they're back together in that staff. And this is a defense that returns a lot, and they were playing very good defense at the end of last season. I just think they fell apart, the offense did at the end of last season. But this season is going to be a different story. I trust them to bounce back. They're just too talented, and I trust Kalen DeBoer. I like some of the young talent they have coming up, like Ryan Williams. He should have a big year. Left tackle Caden Proctor and center Parker Brailsford return. 7 returning starters on defense with Keon Sabb, Domaney Jackson, Deontay Lawson, a very good defense. I love this team. I have them at number 3 going 10-2. Same story with LSU. I just think all pieces are coming together. I think Brian Kelly has a big year. I have LSU going 10-2, 7-1 in conference play and making the SEC title. I do have them losing in the SEC championship game. But nonetheless, I think they make the playoffs. I think this team is intact. Year 2 for Blake Baker should be a big step in the right direction, especially with a revamped secondary. One of the best players in the country in Harold Perkins Jr. back. It just seems like people have forgot about him. Whit Weeks is a very good linebacker. Blake Baker is a great defensive coordinator. I think the defense will be much better. And offensively, they have a deep receiving core with Nick Anderson, Barian Brown, Aaron Anderson, a 4,000-yard quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, a great backfield, and a solid offensive line. The offensive line could be a concern after losing some NFL guys, but they are talented there. I like this LSU team. I think Brian Kelly is being underestimated. He's been a winner everywhere. People just question him because he has lost big games. But it's the same story with a lot of teams. They say, oh, we can't win the big games, even though they're like the most talented team in the country. I'm talking about Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day. They both ended up winning the Natty. By no means am I saying LSU will win the Natty, but I think they are super talented. And I am saying that they will make the playoffs and the SEC title game. I have them at number 2. And at number 1, I do have Georgia at 11-1, 7-1 in conference play, going back to back as SEC champions. I think people are just forgetting who Kirby Smart is, and they made the pieces necessary to take a step forward offensively. With the revamped receiving room, Zachariah Branch is due for a breakout season, and they add Texas A&M's top receiver from last season. And they got some young guys back at wide receiver. They add Josh McCray from Illinois, and they got a very good young back coming back. Gunnar Stockton should get the job done at quarterback, and they have a strong defense. I trust Kirby Smart and the roster that they have. I think they win the SEC for another season. But anyways, that is going to do it for my 2024 SEC predictions. You guys let me know what you agree or disagree with down in the comments below. Now let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. I started some college football ESPN picking groups for this upcoming season. Join them to pick games with me and some others. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.